listening to The Trade Gods.
We are the Trade Gods. Chev, we've got Dynasty buys tonight, 3-3. What do you say about Tucker Kraft?
Well, I mean, Tucker Kraft is one of the most disrespected names in all of fantasy right now. So we're talking about a guy who maximized efficiency, only 65 targets, 50 receptions, 707 yards, 7 touchdowns. Now, at the end of the season, you can go back and check. There's an article and a video out there where we're talking about, well, me specifically talking about Tucker Kraft and Matt LaFleur alluding to a growth role for Tucker Kraft. So Tucker Kraft was 7th among tight ends in receiving yards this year. Okay. Only 21st in targets with 65. That's per fantasy points data. Okay. And then 2nd in yards per target among tight ends, second only to the great George Kittle at 10.88 yards per target. And then same with yards per reception, 14.14, second only to George Kittle. And then he led the league in yak per reception with 9.38 yards after catch per reception, which was a distant first. Second, George Kittle, 6.71. And he was second in missed tackles forced per attempt. So we're talking about a guy who's buried in the fast draft ADP, whose coach has alluded to a growth role, whose wide receiver room is as uncertain as it comes. Now, I know they selected Matthew Golden. They got Dontavian Wicks with the whole Megan Fox thumb thing. However, this is a guy who's clearly a force with the ball in his hands. So I'm all in on Tucker Kraft as a dynasty buy.
Hey, a lot of growth. We love to hear about growth, Chev. No pause. And speaking of a hot dynasty buy that I am on, it is Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones is not anywhere on the map in fast draft, so he could be a late round player who could be arbitrage against the rest of your drafters and competition. The cheapest times to get a quarterback are in Dynasty, Superflex, startups like you and I have right now, Chev, in your rookie drafts. The third best time right now is with Daniel Jones. In 2023, he played 6 games, and in 2024 was behind a dumpster fire O-line with Saquon Barkley, a great buy low. Daniel Jones will be the Colts starting quarterback in 2025. So I'm going all the way back. I'm selling this story of 2022 Daniel Jones. For Walmart prices, Daniel Jones is a great value. For rushing in 2022, 4th in QB carries, 5th in carries per game at 7.5, 708 rushing yards per game rushing yards was 5th, 3rd in rushing touchdowns. So we're just a few years removed from Daniel Jones being 1st in true completion percentage. Expect Josh Downs and Jonathan Taylor to be PPR gold this year. Daniel Jones in the trade database, Dynasty Daddy. Daniel Jones for Joe Milton. Yes, sir. Sign me up. A 25-110 for Daniel Jones in the 201. You're sliding back just a handful of picks, and you're telling me if you're QB needy and getting Daniel Jones, you can also get Jackson Dart. So that's 2 QBs right there. Daniel Jones for 2 fourth rounders. What are we doing? For me, I got Daniel Jones for a 211, 25 rookie pick in a startup that we're in right now, 13th round, 6 rounds later than Anthony Richardson. On Underdog, Daniel Jones goes in round 18. I am buying Daniel Jones. You sell a story, you get a story, you get fruition. If you want a cheap quarterback, go for Daniel Jones. Thank me later, come week 1. Chev, next up for you, Chuba Hubbard. Are you full Chuba?
I'm Chuba'd up in the cement aisle for Chuba Hubbard. Now, let me tell you why. So let's go to the coach's corner. Okay. We have Dave Canales, known establisher, not establishing it for efficiency, but just establishing it for the sake of establishing it. He propelled Rachaad White to fantasy stardom in 2023. Then he goes to the Carolina Panthers, completely broken unit in 2023, revives that run game, has Chuba Hubbard come out, average a career high 4.8 yards a carry, 15 games, 293 opportunities, 43 receptions, and then Dave Canales says that he's a culture changer. He's the type of guy that's a pillar of the organization type of player, which led to the contract extension, even after they drafted Jonathan Brooks, 46th overall in the 2024 draft. So now we're talking about efficiency. Only 40% of his runs were stuffed. That was sixth best in the entire NFL. Okay. 10th in missed tackles forced with 42, sixth in yards after contact with 575 yards after contact, or excuse me, 676. Sorry. Glasses sometimes in things. But like the fact that he's available for these types of prices, Chuba straight up for DJ Moore. Please sign me up. Okay. I'm going the 201 in 2025 or Chuba Hubbard. Sign me up again. Okay. James Cook for Cooper Kupp and Chuba Hubbard. I'm on the Chuba side of that. We have contract certainty. We have we have the same play caller, which James Cook has the same play caller, but they're due for some touchdown regression. They rushed for 32 touchdowns. James Cook rushed for 16. That's almost certain to regress. So yeah, Chuba Hubbard is my guy, and I rest my case here.
Man, full Chuba on this side as well. You got me full Chuba right there. Brandon Aiyuk, no pause. Bad seasons and injuries for Brandon Aiyuk. They give us opportunity in Dynasty. We love players at their peak, but a true test comes when there's that dent in the can, and we have that discount price. While everyone falls for Juwan Jennings and late season pop of Ricky Pearsall, give me Brandon Aiyuk, who is the cheapest wide receiver on Underdog right now. Jennings, wide receiver 37, Pearsall, wide receiver 40, Aiyuk, wide receiver 46. The name of the game for Aiyuk has been efficiency. Give Aiyuk volume. He's going to break out entirely. In 2023, 105 targets, ranked 30th. Remember, last year is a lost year. Last year gives us that discount. While being 7th in 2023 in receiving yards, just a casual 1340 receiving yards. 3rd in yards per route run. 2nd in yards per target and yards per reception for Aiyuk. 2nd in yards per team pass attempts. You're noticing efficiency. Brandon Aiyuk, 2nd in expected points added at 107. 4th in fantasy points per target. Deebo Samuel, out of the way. Brock Purdy, locked up, rags to riches. Give me a fully healthy Brandon Aiyuk. Give me 130, 140 targets, up from 105, and get out of the way. The price has fallen. Now's the time to be convicted on Brandon Aiyuk before that price goes back up, and that's what we're telling you today. We are the trade gods. We are privy to information from the future. Brandon Aiyuk on the Dynasty Daddy trade database. Brandon Aiyuk and the 25-201 for TJ Hawkinson in 1 point tight end premium. There it is for you, Brandon Aiyuk. 25-203 for Brandon Aiyuk and the 25-506. That's a throwaway pick. So it's a 203 this year for Brandon Aiyuk. What are we doing? Just like you said with Chuba Hubbard. Brandon Aiyuk for Tank Bigsby and a 26 4th. What are we doing? And we really need help from the Podfather on what to do in Fast Draft.
It is a damn shame we only get to do a handful of rookie drafts every season. After doing all this rookie analysis, you want more bites at the apple. And that's why we have the Fast Draft Origins tournament. You draft 6 rookies, the top 4 into your lineup. It's best ball style, and it's just $5 to win a $5,000 first prize. So if you're passionate about Taj Brooks or RJ Harvey, get on Fast Draft and use your favorite creator's code to get a $50 deposit match. A $50 deposit match to go make thousands of dollars drafting the rookies that you know and love.
Absolutely love what Fast Draft has. It's a wedge versus the rest of the best ball community where you can hit on the rookies and make sure you get more practice. We hate after our dynasty drafts to lose that opportunity. I think it's really neat to continue in waves throughout the offseason, even richer, these running backs, these rookie players that we have, plenty of running backs in there. Now, Chev, Jameson Williams, is he Ricky Pearsall, or is he somebody that you're buying? You think he's a real deal?
Oh, I think he's way more than the real deal. Jameson Williams, currently just outside of the top 60 in our Fast Draft ADP. A guy that I like to sneak in is my 6th round pick because he has true boom potential. He averaged 14 points a game in 2024, 14.2. And we head to the coach's corner. And we have the offensive coordinator, the replacement for Ben Johnson, talking about how he could have such a big year. Dan Campbell comes out and talks about how much J-Mo has grown. I always like to point out the fact that Dan Campbell's tune changed drastically because of one play that Jameson Williams made that's led us to the path that we're on now, to him being a superstar like he was at the University of Alabama. And it's him blocking for a guy downfield when he on a long run play. And Dan Campbell went out of his way to allude to that. And from that point forward, we've seen nothing but positive JMO propaganda from Dan Campbell. So we're going into essentially a contract year. They picked up his 5th-year option, but he's going to look to outplay the need for a 5th-year option and get a deal done. So if he's uncertain to remain in Detroit, he's going to go get somewhere in the neighborhood of $30 million a year and be the primary target. So with Jameson Williams, we're talking about 7.45 yards after the catch per reception. That was 3rd best in the league. 2.5 yards per target over expectation. That was 2nd behind A.J. Brown with receivers with at least 75 targets. And he was 12th in the league in QB rating when targeted at 114.2. That was 12th in the league amongst receivers with at least 75 targets. So we've already kind of seen the breakout. I think this could go somewhere around the 17 to 18 points per game range with just how dominant he is. 90 catches, 58 catches, 90 targets, 1,000 yards, 7 touchdowns, 11 carries, 61 yards, and another touchdown on the ground. So I'm very excited about Jameson Williams for reasons that I don't feel like I have to explain anymore. He's super fast, he's super athletic, and he's in one of the top 5 offenses in the entire NFL. And you can get him, around the 8th round of startup drafts.
Now, here's somebody who has just a little bit more post-hype, who has done so well for himself, but because he's not the new shiny thing, he's a little bit more depressed in price. 72 on Fast Draft. So we're talking about you can get him at the very end of these drafts, push him into those late 50s, and snag you some Jaylen Waddle, Jonnu Smith, Tyreek Hill. A lot going on with them, a lot of noise. So you have 1, maybe 2 exits from Miami that could happen along the way. With just Malik Washington behind him, Jaylen Waddle. Waddle is 66 overall in our Superflex tight end premium ranks. Waddle is just ahead of, funny enough, Brandon Aiyuk, and right behind Jordan Addison and Terry McLaurin in our wide receiver ranks. But he's just buried, nondescript, Jaylen Waddle, really. His targets have gone down every single season for years, from 142 to 116, 104 to 83. Receptions have gone down, 104 for Waddle, 75, 72, 58. This is an easy volume game that will revert once we get Tyreek Hill and or Jonnu Smith out of the way. Waddle may even usurp Tyreek Hill based on what we saw last year, based off of just play in 2025. Here's some deals. Waddle for 26 first. This is on Dynasty Daddy. I like this because 1 year from now, Waddle can easily be the wide receiver 1. By that point, it'll be too late. So it's kind of like credit card debt here. Swipe the credit card for Jaylen Waddle. Waddle for Jordan Mason and a 26 first. You can kind of see people have been just, hey, I'll take tomorrow's bill when it comes because Jaylen Waddle is going to pay it off. Jaylen Waddle for a 26 and a 27 second round pick. Essentially, don't mortgage, but rip the credit card a few times, swipe it a few times for some Jaylen Waddle, because by the time Jaylen Waddle hits, it'll be too late. In fantasy football, if you're not early, you're late. Jaylen Waddle is one of those players who you want to be early in order to not be late. You got to be on time, so you have to be early. Smart gamers are sending their future picks for Waddle, knowing he'll pay off either in 2025 immediately, or by the time those picks come up and need to be cashed in, it won't matter. So you're protected 2 ways. You don't need it exactly right now. You'll need it next year. But I'm saying you've got a high chance of it hitting this year with a guaranteed chance it'll hit next year. Of course, you got to have health. Trade gods. Oh, premonition time. Jaylen Waddle will be healthy. So, Chev, we have our 3 and 3, the buys. What are some of your takeaways?
Well, for one, I just realized that we're in a startup and you took all 3 of these players that you mentioned in the start, that you mentioned throughout the episode. Just realized that right now. So
there's the money. There's the money.
Shout out to you for putting your money where your mouth is. Now, I only have one of my guys in the startup because of Schultze. But that's a different discussion for a different day. I mean, I think that, we're talking about being sharp, being sharp on opportunities that others seeing around corners that others may not see.
Yep.
You know, there are people who are staunch Anthony Richardson believers. I don't think either one of us classifies as that. So with that opportunity comes a Daniel Jones to come in. He's getting significant money, and they've tried to insulate themselves in the event that Anthony Richardson can't take the step forward. So that's a great call. I'm a Jaylen Waddle denier, but his price now has become so depressed that we can't pass that up. And then, you know, on my side, obviously, I feel very strongly about that. So how do you feel about the buys that I presented to you?
I like what you have on Tucker Kraft because people just rip him for his low ADOT, but you hit on some of his efficiency metrics, but I got him right here. Number 2 in yards per route run, yards per target, yards per reception. He had 2 tight end 1 weeks last season, back to back. So you've got a guy, it's kind of like Jordan Addison. Jordan Addison will have wide receiver 1 overall weeks, not just a wide receiver 1 for the week, the actual wide receiver 1. Tucker Kraft did that twice last year at the tight end position. People are a little reluctant to extrapolate how that can just continue further. But with the wide receivers in Green Bay, it's flat structure. Is it so crazy when you made some likenings to George Kittle? The Packers and 49ers have very duplicate setups. Just one is the 49ers are more name brand than the Packers. And Tucker Kraft, is it so out of the question that he could be the number 2 target on this Packers offense while it's sorted out between Matthew Golden, Jaden Reed, Romeo Doubs?
Exactly.
I feel like all the competition will just be, you know, that the crab theory where they're all pulling each other down. It's going to happen with the wide receivers, but Tucker Kraft is just going to be there over the seams, ready to be that number 2 target. And there's a diva out there in Green Bay. We just don't know who it is yet. If I had to pick my 2, it's going to be Romeo Doubs and or Jaden Reed. Those are my 2 picks if I had to lay my odds of who's the diva in that room. Who is not a diva is a buy that you just hit up, Tucker Kraft. So great call there. And Chuba Hubbard, I really like what you said about him. The Panthers went for Travion Henderson. They had him visit. They had him in. And I really thought they were going to go back to the well because, hey, process-wise, Jonathan Brooks, it didn't turn out. But really, this is just a nut setup that you have. You survived the draft wholly compared to what could have come in. Because I thought they were going to go, the Panthers, for some Detroit Lions South, Montgomery Gibbs. Who would have blamed them? Chuba Hubbard is just a more freed up David Montgomery.
Yeah.
So I love that.
Yeah. No, man. This was a fun episode. Now if you guys have some trades or have some guys that you're buying, leave that in the comments. Leave your must-haves going into 2025. Guys that you're higher on, that you want to buy, that you want to go ahead and acquire right now because you feel like the price of the brick is going up as we enter into the 2025 season.
Hey, could not have said it better myself. And next up, our next episode, we're going to have more on guys we should be fading and selling to get ahead of. We are the Trade Gods.
From the Podfather to you, I deeply appreciate you tuning in. And many ask, what can I do? What can I do to help support the hosts, the research they do, the production costs? Go to playerprofiler.com, Dynasty Deluxe, World Famous Draft Kit, Rankings, DFS Dominator, and of course, data analysis. Subscribe to any one of those, and you support all of us and take Player Profiler to the moon.